obviously people coming in from outside, bringing alien customs and stuff like that, to the extent where some of them can't even outright say whether they can control themselves around kids. Whether they control themselves around kids. All right, now you might have just seen a little jump cut there, ladies and gentlemen. That's because in that point where I was speaking, I phrased something very wrong, and I wanted to just take this time just to rephrase it a bit quick to make sure I get the point across. So this Muslim was asked by Kelly directly, can you control yourself around children? And he cannot bring himself to even just say yes. And really, that's the only answer to this question. The biggest point is, if this question even needs to be asked, okay, that's red flag warning bells going off, number one, right? If that question even needs to be asked. But then B, if the person cannot even bring himself, straight up to just say, yes, what the fuck is this question? Who the hell do you think that I am? If somebody asks you this question, you typically get very angry, right? But no, it's constant deflection. It's constant obfuscation, all of this stuff, right? This is the kind of people that the government are targeting. And I'm sorry if that upsets you, if that upsets your, liberal sensibilities and stuff like that, and your beliefs and such, but it is nonetheless true. Here is an example of it that is one example of hundreds of thousands, if not millions at this point.
I'm talking about 12 and 13-year-old girls who were groomed and raped. You're talking, yeah. Right, so where's the nakedness about paedophiles coming from?
You're against... I'm speaking...
Can you control yourself around children?
Sorry?
Do you control yourself around children? There's a naked child. Can you control yourself not to rape them?
It doesn't have to be about...
Can you control yourself around a child?
It's not about...
Can you control yourself around a child?
The environment we're in.
Can you control yourself around a child?
There you go. They're said and done.
Can you?
Can this whole country?
Can you?
Can this whole country?
You have to control yourself.
Is it just me, or is it everyone else?
Every man.
But that's not just me.
Every man.
Every man.
And how
Control yourself.
How do you know what's inside their heart? How do you know their control? Do you believe this man here is controlling himself? How do you know what's going on?
Well, the thing is, when you know a little bit about religion, what people believe, what they feel is good and not good, about their moral compasses and all of this stuff, you can make a lot of well-educated judgments and guesses, ladies and gentlemen. If you know someone is a Muslim and you know they follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad, and you know a little bit about Muhammad's relations with a little young girl known as Aisha, where Muhammad being seen as the perfect example of how to be a man and how to carry yourself on this earth, right? And he married a young girl at 6 and consummated the marriage, i.e. he boned her at 9, then you are. And you think that this man is a good person to follow. You think that this man who killed hundreds in single days, right, that was conquesting all up and down the Middle East and from Arabia and all of these things, right? Was raping, pillaging, committing some of the biggest atrocities we've ever seen. And then his followers went on to commit some of the biggest atrocities we've ever seen in his name, right? And in the name of Allah. And then that spawned the Crusades and all of this stuff, right? Because there was a call from, because of the Seljuk Turks, they were going all up and down, raping, pillaging Christian holy lands. And when they got to the holy lands themselves, that was what spawned the call for the Crusades. Crusades were defensive. Crusades were a defense. If anything, we're commonly told the narrative that the Crusades were, an offensive. I suppose you could say that they were, as in they went to the Holy Lands from somewhere else. But it was to defend lands that were already Christian lands, that had been taken over. All right? How do you know what's going on inside his heart, he asks. Well, your moral code is there, and the things that you believe are morally good or morally bad are ultimately going to come from your religious philosophy, right? If we know a little bit about what your religion teaches, we can make some good estimations on what you believe is good, what you believe is bad, and as a result, your actions, words, etc., that are going to follow from that. Okay? And these things happen in enough number and enough instance, and then you start to form stereotypes. And that's why I say we're not allowed to stereotype anymore. We're not allowed to stereotype because stereotypes point to uncomfortable truths usually. If a stereotype, the stereotype exists. A person like this, for example, of similar ethnicity and similar, same religious philosophy, that, they're going to go onto a plane and then all of a sudden that plane might not make it to the ground in the same way that it left the ground, right? Now, is part of that going to be some, you know, I suppose you could say racism or whatever on the part of some? Sure. But a lot of them, a lot of people that would have that concern, simply have that concern because they've seen how many examples of that thing have happened in the past, and that the people who've done it are very proud of it, and that other people from this person's same ethnic and religious enclave support it and glorify it and are happy when those people die. And then you think, maybe this could be me. Actually, no, stereotypes are not always a bad thing. Stereotypes are not always a bad thing. But this is the thing. These are who our government wants here. Why? Why? Because they'll vote for more government. They'll vote for more government. They'll vote for more welfare state. And they'll give more power to the government to the point where they get here in large enough number and they will vote the government out and replace it with a government of their own. Either way, you, the regular British person, get shafted. You get shafted by your own government first, and then you're going to get shafted by the foreign government that comes in once your own government gets shafted. So again, needs to stop. Needs to stop. And tells you need to know when you have, for example, this is from the Daily Mail now. Remember Lucy Connolly? Remember Lucy Connolly, who's still in prison at the moment for a social media post that she made, right? Well, there was a migrant that has entered the UK from Cairo, Egypt. And this is actually from January last year. A man by the name of Osama al-Haddad, who's 26 years old. And he entered the UK with grotesque child abuse videos. And he was spared jail and deportation. Immigration officers uncovered the material, including depraved footage of a man having sex with a goat, when they searched his mobile during asylum screening. The Yemen native, 26, originally came to the UK on a student visa. See how many of these things have now been weaponized to bring these people to the UK because they want more votes, right? Student visas, in many ways, the higher education system is just another form of immigration facilitation in many instances now. And that was the case for me. That was the case for me in many instances, because sometimes when I went to university, you'd walk around the campus, and again, I wouldn't know how to think about it at the time. And this is not me espousing hate to any individual that was on that campus or anything like that whatsoever, but it would oftentimes feel like a foreign place. It would oftentimes feel like a foreign place. So because a lot of the people there, especially on certain times of the day when you just be walking through, you just notice a lot of these people are distinctly not Welsh or not British. And it does just feel like a foreign place. Apparently the Houthis were seeking out his father, and then that's why he claimed asylum. He's also under pressure by the Houthis to join their army, and claimed he is not able to return to Yemen because of fear of repercussions for refusing to fight. He admitted to 3 counts of making indecent photos of children and 1 count of making a pseudo-photograph of a child. He claimed to have no sexual interest in children, that the images were sent to him by a friend on WhatsApp. You think why he still had them, even though WhatsApp in many instances automatically downloads things, which you can turn that setting off, by the way. You can turn that setting off so that it doesn't. When you knew about these things, why did you not just delete them straight away? If this would be something, if I got sent that, you just delete it straight away. Be like, I want nothing to do with this, whatever the hell this fucking is. And if anything, probably block that person. Why do you have friends sending you photos of these indecent photos of children? Not exactly a good friend. Maybe you shouldn't be associating with this person. He was sentenced to 30 weeks, suspended for a year, and was also made subject to sexual harm prevention order for 10 years and 150 hours of unpaid work. And then when he left the court, there's this photo of him, which I'll pull up now. There's this photo of him giving the thumbs up to the camera. There's this photo of him giving the thumbs up to the camera. So this is model voter for your Western governments, ladies and gentlemen. For your Welsh government, for your Scottish government, for your English government, for your Irish government. Model voter. Model voter right here. And it just goes to show the blatant double standard. Just goes to show the blatant double standard. You know, good people, Menaces, again, Lucy Connolly, a lot of people turned on her when they found out that her family, I believe it was part of some resettlement schemes, I believe, for people coming from Nigeria and places like that. I believe it was. And a lot of people towards the nationalist side kind of turned on her at that point, saying that, oh, she's where she deserves to be. Rescind all support for her. I don't go that far because she's in prison for speech crime. Okay, she's in prison for speech crime, regardless if you support what she did or not. She's in prison for speech crime. Okay, so she should still be having a support in that regard, right? But a lot of people then will go more and go towards the really far end of the other side of the spectrum. They're also against free speech for their own ideological ends, right? So again, that's where you're seeing that the two sides are not necessarily, when you get to the most extreme ends of it, are not too different. And you then have criminals like this, disgusting, heinous criminals like this, giving the thumbs up and walking free from court. And you have a mother who's taking care of her family, is in jail. You know, you see images of the court when they're crying when their sentences are held down, given down and stuff like that, because they're innocent people. They're innocent people because the crimes they've been convicted of are not crimes. Right? They're the ones, their families are torn apart. And they're the ones left with the tears of a broken society. There's something wrong about a society where you have a native mother crying as she go into, prison, for example, going to prison for something which she said on social media, and a foreign child sex criminal, person with child abuse images on their phone, and all the other things, the grooming gangs, all of these other things, right? Examples like Hugh Edwards, right? Examples like Hugh Edwards going free for all of the indecent images that he had. They get to walk free. But a mother, for something she said on social media, is rotting in prison right now. Just have a little think about the society we live in and whether you want this to continue.